Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Danielle with Damn Fancy Creations, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do a buffalo plaid with only two colors, red and black, and also a leopard swirl. So the first thing you're going to do is prep and spray your cup white. I always spray my cup white just because I think it helps make the colors a little bit more vibrant. And I use a flat or matte white by Rust-oleum. I use matte or flat because it dries much quicker than a gloss. We are also going to be using a red. I believe this is sunrise red. My camera wasn't focusing, but I believe it's sunrise red. And a black. I believe this one is Canyon Black. It's a satin. I prefer to use matte if I can find them, but sometimes I just have to work with what they have. And you're going to need 1-inch painter's tape. So the very first thing you're going to do is spray both of your tumblers really well with the red. This is going to be the base color for the design. And I hold my cup about a foot away from me and just lightly spray all the way around the cup. You can always go back and touch up areas if you need to, but you don't want to get them too heavy and cause drips, especially because this is going to be a spray painted cup. You will be able to see the drips under epoxy. So make sure you get your bottoms really well and your tops and the curve if you're doing a 30 ounce. And then we're going to do the same thing to the 20 ounce. Just spray it really well. And since this is a gloss, I'm going to let it sit overnight. If it was a matte, I wouldn't have to let it sit as long. So once you are sure your cups are good and dry, we can move on to taping. So you're going to start by pulling off about 6 or 7 strips of tape that are the length of your tumbler. And we are going to tape them down the cup. So the first one, I'm just going to line up as well as I can. Press it down gently. Then you're going to put a second piece of tape down. And then a third piece of tape down. And you're going to pull off the middle piece. That is just our spacer. And we are going to do that all the way around the cup. Put your spacer, another piece of tape, and then pull the spacer. And then we are going to do the same thing for the 30 ounce. For the 30 ounce, it's not going to be the same size squares for the top and the bottom. So I like to focus on the bottom spaces and adjust the top to match. So you can see I'm lining up the bottom tape lines and then adjusting the top. And I really do just kind of eyeball it and get them as straight as you can. But once the entire cup is spray painted, you're really not going to be able to tell a difference that much. I promise. So this step is probably the most time consuming. Just trying to match up the widths all the way around the cup. And then if you need to go back and adjust a little bit, you can do that. So once you have all your spaces how you want them, we are going to go mist with our first color, or our only color, I guess, for this design, which is the black. So when I say mist the color, you are just going to mist it lightly, especially because this is black and it does not take much at all. You don't want to be too heavy-handed on this step. So I hold it pretty far away from me. It's probably about 1.5 feet, and y'all can see the poofs of paint just kind of misting onto the cup. See, it's just lightly going on there. So I hold it probably about 2 feet away from me. And then we're going to do the same thing with the skinny. So just lightly go down the cup with the black paint. And since we just kind of lightly misted it on there, it should be good to go to the next step. So for the next step, we are going to pull this tape off, and I'm going to save it because we're going to use it for another step. And then we are going to tape the opposite way down the cup. So just peel off some more tape, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to tape around, put our spacer down, put another piece of tape down, and pull the spacer. And when you're matching up the ends of the tape, I like to make sure they're good and straight so you don't have any weird tape lines. So it looks like one continuous strip. And once we have this one done, we can move on to the 30 ounce. And if you're not using a matte or satin paint, then you might need to wait a little bit longer in between the steps. Now the curve on the 30 ounce can be a little bit tricky, but I will show you guys how I get the best lines for me. So we'll put our spacer down right above the curve. And then for the next piece of tape, I am only going to focus on getting the top piece of the tape straight. I'm not going to worry about the bottom right now, just the top. So it basically sits right at the top of that curve. Then we're going to pull our spacer, and we're going to just mash the bottom down. And it's not going to be straight. There's going to be creases and crinkles. But I'm going to take a second piece of tape. I had to tear this one in half because it was a little thicker than I wanted. And we're going to line up the second piece of tape along the bottom. So the bottom part of that piece of tape is straight, if that makes sense. And then put our next spacer and our last piece of tape. And then we are going to take the black again and just mist it over the entire cup. Still just misting. Because we don't want it too dark. And then do the same thing with the skinny. And then for the next step, we are going to take the tape that we previously peeled off and we're going to reapply it down the original tape lines we had, which is going to be the lighter line that you see. So tap it, make sure it's dry. If it's not, you may need to wait a little bit or hit it with your heat gun or hair dryer. So we're just going to tape down the original lines. And I'm not pressing very hard. I'm just kind of pushing it down so it won't move. And then we're going to do the same thing with the skinny. So replace those tape lines down the cup. And for this next step, we're going to spray a little bit darker than we had been because we want these squares to be black. And during this step too, if you want to paint your bottom black, you can do that. I just like to leave mine red. And then we're going to peel all the tape off. This part is most satisfying because you actually get to see the finished design. And then do the same thing for the 30. And then I will show you guys how to do the leopard part. I also realized that I should have waited a little bit longer for my paint to dry because this was satin and not flat. So it did peel a little bit of the black paint up, but I'm just going to cover this with glitter. If I was not covering it with glitter, I would have taken a dry sponge and lightly just dabbed it in some black paint and then on the squares that had some paint pulled up. So y'all can see just a little bit on those couple squares the paint was pulled up, but we're just going to cover that with glitter anyway. So you're going to need a sheet of paper to catch your glitter. And then whatever glitter color you want. I use Mimosa from my glitter line, the Drunk Flamingo. And I also like to use a tea strainer to help with the ombre effect. So this is the glitter I'm using. It's like a champagne-y gold. And I like to pour my glitter into a small cup so I have a little bit better control over where it's going. I had to open a new pack. And I apply it with the clear gloss spray. So you're going to shake it up really well, make sure it's all good and ready to go. And then I'm going to take the cup and we're going to spray it at an angle around the cup. So I basically just spray the gloss spray and turn my cup as I spray it. So it has that angle effect. And then for the first glitter sprinkle, I guess, I just pour it on the cup. I'm not too concerned, you know, in the exact pattern at this point. I just want to get glitter on there at an angle. And then bang it off really well. And since we're going to spray it with the spray again, I like to get a paintbrush and kind of dust the edges off because I don't want glitter permanently on there in random spots. So I just kind of go around the edges, knock off some of the loose glitter. And then we're going to spray the cup again, focusing on the edges so we can get that swirl effect that we want and the ombre effect or fade, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to basically tap the glitter on so it falls down the cup. You also want to be sure that you're covering the plaid really well. You don't want to see that checkered print through the leopard print. So once I have the shape that I want down, this is where I use the strainer. So bang everything off really, really well. And then we are going to get that ombre effect going on the edges a little bit more. So when you get your strainer, I use it a lot. So you want to make sure that you clean it out really well because you don't want random glitter colors in your leopard print. So I just take a paper towel and wipe it out really well. And then you're ready to go. So this is the strainer I use. I like it because it's like a little cup with holes in it, basically. It's real easy to work with. So for this step, I'm just going to spray the edges. And then I'm basically just going to tap some of the glitter along the edges to really bring out that ombre or fade effect that I want. So basically just do this until you're happy with it. And then bang it off. So y'all can see that it has a little bit more of an ombre effect where it goes from just a little bit of glitter to heavy glitter. And then we're basically going to do the exact same thing to the 30 ounce. The 30 ounce, you need to focus a little bit more on the curve because it can be hard to, or easy to miss, really. So same thing, just spray in a angled pattern and then pour your glitter on. And then use the tea strainer to get the faded look. And then I seal these with the clear spray really, really well. And when that is dry, then you can do the leopard print. So once everything is dry, we're going to do the leopard print. You'll need Mod Podge, black paint, black and brown glitter, and a paintbrush. I like to use a rounded tip paintbrush versus a flat one. So I basically just pour a little bit of Mod Podge out on some tape or whatever I have around me. And then we're going to take the Mod Podge and just make random dots all the way, around the tumbler. There's no rhyme or rhythm to it. Just kind of splotch them on. And this is the brown glitter. And then do the same thing to the 30 ounce. You want to make them, different sizes and shapes so they look a little bit more realistic. And after you're happy with your brown spots, we're going to go back and add the black. And for the black, you will see me, I like to kind of dot it on versus swiping it on, if that makes sense. To me, when you dot it on there or dab it on there, it looks a little bit more realistic. So you can see I'm mixing some black paint with the Mod Podge. That way, when the Mod Podge dries, you're not going to see the champagne glitter through the black. You want to make sure that it is black. So when it dries, if there's, if any glitter is missing, you'll just see black paint through it. So I just kind of dab it around the black spots in 2 or 3 little areas. And so you can see my motion is more of like dabbing versus swiping. And then sprinkle on your black glitter. And then we're going to add the black little dots. So you want to make these different shapes and sizes. Some can be dabs or U-shapes. And what can help if you don't feel confident in the shapes you're making, just look up realistic leopard print online just to get some ideas about what they look like in real life. And go back and check to see if you need to add 1 or 2 little spots. And then do the same thing with the 30 ounce. So I let this sit overnight after I'm happy with everything. Then I spray seal it really well after I brush off the excess glitter. And then I epoxy. So it's pretty simple. It's a couple steps, but I'm always really happy with how they turn out. So there is the finished product. I hope you guys enjoyed.